This is a CIS180 week 13. Have just 2 more weeks left of class. Week 14 is next week. We'll be using going over chapter 13. You'll be creating a couple web pages for that week. And then the final week, week 15, is the final exam for the course. It's 80 questions, multiple choice, true, false. It's open book. You can take it only once. It's a cumulative of chapters 1 through 13. This week, it's week 13, we're going to be, you've got the chapter 12 quiz, discussion, notes, and then the take-home assignment, the program assignment Dropbox, is tutorial 2. And it's from chapter 12. As always, if you have extra credit, put it in the message here when you submit your code for 20 extra points. And let's go right to the tutorial 2 on creating the CD collection application. This chapter goes over using Microsoft Access databases for your program, which is used a lot in programming. Last week was sequential file. This week's going right into using a referential database like Microsoft Access to be able to view, save, delete, and add records. And even this week we'll search records. And this tutorial goes over that. And the first part, you connect the database. Second part goes into once you connect the database, which your solution files that you've downloaded will have in there a folder for the data or for the chapters. As always, we'll have a data files folder. And for chapter 12, you're going to have an access databases folder in there. And the one using for this week is the CD Microsoft Access database. That's the one that we'll be using. So basically you connect to the database. After you connect to the database, we're going to preview it. Once you preview it, then you're going to add that table to the form. It's going to create a data grid. We'll add a button for, or add to the buttons a try-catch statement. And then we'll also add a button in here for the search mechanism, search button, and we'll call it artist name. And then finally, as always, it has at the end of the tutorial the finished code needed for that. As you can see here, it has in here the save item, which is a button on the navigation toolbar we'll use. It also has code in here for the form load that loads the database onto the grid. The search artist button, which selects a record and shows it onto the data grid and filters it. So let's go ahead and jump right into the application. The first thing you want to do is when you load up the design form is we're going to add the database. A couple ways to do it. One is going up to the data tab itself and going to add new data source. Or you can go over to the left of the toolbox and we'll go ahead and pin the data source to the left side of your screen. Otherwise, if we don't, it's going to constantly have to go and hover over it to bring it out there. Two options for the data source tab is add a new data source or refresh it. We have no data source in there right now. So they'll add a new data source. 3 options here: database, service, or object. We're going to use database. We'll be doing a data set model database. Click New Connection. I'm going to change the data source from SQL Server to Microsoft Access database file. Browse out to your Access database folder, and we're going to click CD. Test the connection. Click OK. Click Next. And what it's going to do now, after we click Yes, it's going to copy that database to your local Solution Explorer. We want to check or expand the tables here to see which one. We only have one table in here. We're going to use this one. It's TBL CDs. We're not going to use the view, just the table. The dataset name, we'll leave it as that, CD dataset. Click Finish. Then we should see show up here in a second on the left side under the data source, that new data source we've just added. So what we can do here is we can expand the data source to see the field names. If you click on each field name, it'll bring you the type of field it is. These are all text fields. You can right click on the table and we can preview the table as well, which it has you do during the steps of the tutorial. If I click preview, it brings up all the data records. It has a CD name column, artist name, and price. Click close. To add a data grid to the form from an Access database is pretty simple. You just click on the table itself and drag it, click and drag it to the form. It's going to create a navigation toolbar at the top. We'll take and expand the data grid to fit the form. And we're going to change over here to the right side the auto size columns mode from none to fill. The other thing I want to check is this anchor. I want to go ahead and do an anchor all the way around to fill up the form if the screen gets bigger, if the form gets bigger. Okay. So by just doing that right now, I'm just going to run the application to see what's happening without changing anything else right now. And what it's doing is compiling, and there is the form with the data grid on it. If I expand the form, it's going to also expand the data grid. Collapse it, it's going to stay collapsed. Allows me to navigate through each one. Also, this also allows me currently to delete a certain record, which I can click on one of these and hit delete. It's going to delete it. Save it. So now let's go ahead and go into some of the renaming. One of the things it has you do is rename this CD column to CD space name. We'll leave artist as is, price like it is, as far as header name, but we'll change the format on the price column to be currency. In order to do that, you just got to click on the data grid once with your mouse, and it should be TBLS CDS data grid view. We're going to go down to the columns, property, click on collections, and we're going to go to the CD name column and go up to the header text and type in CD in caps space name. We're going to go to the price, and we're going to scroll down to the default cell style, click the ellipsis, click on format, click the ellipsis, change it to currency. and it should be default space, decimal spaces is 2, and that's fine. It'll put a dollar symbol in front of the price. Click OK. Click OK again. Next thing it has you do is put code in the Save button. I'm going to double click on the Save button. What the book has you do for tutorial 2 is put a try catch in here and a message box. I've already created this prior, so I'm going to go ahead and copy my code here. This is actually found though in yours as well. On the try catch right here, the try catch, and it's this message box with a giving the error message, displaying the error message, title, CD collection, OK message box button, and information. So go ahead and copy this message box. Okay, again, the first argument for a message box is the text that you want shown. Second argument is the caption of the message box. Third argument is the button type, which is OK only. Fourth argument is the icon you want the viewer to see, which in this case is just an informational icon, is all we want them to see on this one. Click Save. Next thing we want to do is we want to add a search button that looks basically like this, artist search. And I think the tutorial has you just put artist in there, that's fine, but if you want to put artist search, that would be fine as well. Or search artist. So you click on the drop down to the right of the Save button, and we're going to change this empty area to a button and convert it. It should rename it like mine was Tool Strip Button 1. I'm going to rename this. In fact, their tutorial for the book here gives you the name, which is artist button is what it has you name it, which will be fine. And I'm going to rename the text to be a little different than just artist. I'm going to do search, or maybe better yet, filter artist. Filter artist. And another property I got to set in here is the display style from image to text. And now I'll see filter artist in here. And the filter artist code basically is right here. It selects a record pertaining to the artist. You're declaring an artist name as string. A constant prompt is string. One or more letters. And leave empty to retrieve all records. Get the artist name equals input box prompt, comma, artist name. The prompt is going to be the text here. The user types in an artist name. It then converts it to a 2-upper here, puts it in artist name. So if they put in Jones, all uppercase or lowercase, it's going to convert it to uppercase. Then here's going to do a select record. Dim records equals from CD, and remember that was the table name, in CD dataset.tbls CDS, where cd.artist.2upper is like artist name ampersand, and then this here is going to put a delimiter on the end of this search key, like a wildcard, and then select CD. Is going to do a select statement just for that search. Then on the table data source, it's going to plug it into that records data view. So code on this one, and when you put it in there, it's going to have a squiggly line in here on purpose, and I'll tell you why in a second. Let me go ahead and put mine in. So as you can see here on mine, let's see, let's go all the way up to the top here and put in our option explicits that you need. Okay, and this is what yours should look like. It's put a squiggly line underneath the option under records because it's not declared with an as statement. So what you need to do is basically take this option infer and put it to on. What this is going to do is infer that the keyword or the declarations are inferred by what's right of that equal symbol. So now if I put my mouse over records, you'll notice it says it is deferred it as a data.enumerable row collection, which is correct. So again, this is declaring artist a string, a constant, getting the artist from an input box, then doing a select statement here from CD artist, where the artist is like the artist name that they type in, and then it's going to plug it into the data source records.asDataView. Well, before we run this, let me just show you, we did not go over here. When you added the database, it added information down here at the bottom I want to kind of touch base with. Okay. One is the data set itself, the CD data set it created. Upon creation of this, when we added the data source CD, the TBL CDS, it created the data set. It also created the binding source and the table adapter. The table adapter manager, which allows for inserting, updating, and deleting, and the table binding navigator, which is this right up here at the top, what drives that. Let's talk about the CD data set. If I click on this play button here and go to Edit and Data Designer, it brings me up that table that's in here, and I have the ability to look at the select statement and the update statement. I'm going to go and look at the select statement here. And you'll notice in the select statement it selects all fields from the table. CD name, artist, and price. Now let's look at the update statement. It updates the table and it sets the CD name and the artist name and the price name to where the CD name, artist name, or price name has been changed or altered on that data grid. Okay, save that. So as you can see, when the form runs and loads, it's taking the data adapter, filling it with a data set, which is a select statement, where it selects all data. Basically, it's going to select, as you saw in the preview data, it's going to select everything, all records, all 13 records initially. Then, once a user makes a change, it's going to validate those changes and edit, which you have to do before you update a database. And then it's taking the data set and updating all from the data table adapter manager. Now the table adapter manager has in there, this was also created upon when we added the use of the wizard. It has in here all of the needed update information for inserting, deleting, and updating a database. Let's go back to the form. So it updates all. If there is an error, it will give a message here what that error is. So that's the save. The search, again, search is a string. And I'm going to go ahead and put a stop on this here to show you what it comes up with. So let's go ahead and run this again. We're going to practice deleting, adding, and searching this database. Okay. Let's go ahead and first of all, let's go ahead and add a new record. I'm going to go ahead and put in here a new one. And I'll put $12. Okay. If I don't hit the save button on this one, if I come back and close this out and open it back up, it's not going to save it until the save button is clicked. Okay, and it will not, this code will not be ran, the validation will not be run, the update all will not be run. And so it's really important to remember to save what changes you've made. So I'm going to save it, exit out, run it again, and there's the new record. Now let's go ahead and select that new record I just added. We're going to delete that record, hit save all, save data, exit out, run again. Now that data is gone. That record is gone. Now let's filter. Let's filter by seal. Okay. And I'm going to purposely put this in all lowercase. Click OK. And here's where the break comes in, the break point. Okay, the artist name I typed in is seal. Notice it's not all uppercase. If I go ahead and do a step over here, let's look at that data row here. Just add it in here. This should be giving me all the information there. Now the records.asDataView is going to give in memory the information that I just filtered from the results. And notice here it's going to give me rows 0 and 1 with seal as the data results. Those only two is going to come back. Continue on through that and play. There's seal. I'll click filter artist again. I'm going to leave it blank this time to bring everything back in. And now I have all the data minus the Elvis because I deleted that one. Okay, so just to recap again. You'll start out with a blank form. You're going to add a data source from the data source section over here on the left side. I suggest taking and doing the pin, adding the data source, make sure and changing that data source from MySQL to data after an access database. It will ask you to bring in a local copy. You want to say yes. It brings in that local copy into your solution. You can right click on the table when it comes in, preview it, and then to add it to the form, you just click on the table and drag it to your form. You take in the property, the auto size property of the data grid, you're going to take to auto to fill, the auto size property of the data to fill, and it's this one right here, auto size columns. You can do an anchor top, bottom, left, and right if you want to, and make sure and expand your data grid to fit your form better. You'll also change the header text to CD name, price, column to currency. You're going to add a try catch and the save button. You're going to add a new button. You're going to call filter or artist, but if you want to put filter artist in there to make it clear for the user, that'd be fine. Filter artist, once you add any blank area on here, it allows you to add a new menu all the way across each time you add a new menu. This is a button. All you need to remember on that is you need to change the display style to text and filter artist for the text property and artist button for the name property. For this one to work, since do not have an as statement at this declaration for dim records, you need to take the infer off and make it on, meaning anything to the right of the equal symbol is what it infers that declaration is for. In this case, it's an enumerable row collection. This is going to do a from where the artist.toUpper is like the artist name it was typed in, and it's going to select all of those, put those into the record set, and preview them, and put them onto the data grid. Remember, when you run this, this is the button to add. Make sure and save after you add. Delete. In order to delete, you have to click on this left column here, this left row on the left side. I'll run it again to show you. Click on the row itself right here before you try to delete. Don't click on a cell, click on a row, then delete, then save. To add, click on this. Make your additions, save. To filter, click on this. Type in the beginning of the name, and it'll bring up the artist. Okay, that completes week 13. Submit this to week 13 as always. If you have any questions, let me know. Remember, week 14 is coming up where you just create a couple web pages, and then week 15 is the final. If you are missing any past assignments, I'll give you through Sunday to make those up and to complete those. Otherwise, let's have a great week.